Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
We're starting with new developments tonight on a stalking case that we've been following for you since June. Several of you have even contacted us through our whistleblower hotline in hopes of catching the guy who was reportedly following teenagers home in South Fargo. Tonight, police tell us they may have found him. Back in June, we told you about some suspicious activity in the area of 32nd Avenue and 15th Street South in Fargo. That's where Hornbacher's sits. The reports said that a black male in his 20s was driving a newer silver Toyota sedan without plates and was following a female who was walking. Police say they have identified a man they believe to be involved in the case, have interviewed him, and have sent possible charges to the Cass County State's Attorney. Coming up tonight on Valley News Live at 6, our crime and safety reporter, Nicole Johnson, shows us why some people are still on edge about the whole situation. A family in the Valley is dealing with the tragic loss of a child. An 8-year-old boy from Page, North Dakota, has died after a car crash in Steele County. The North Dakota Highway Patrol confirms that Brayden Dahl passed away yesterday. The crash happened just after 7 Tuesday morning on Steele County Road 1. That's near Galesburg. Troopers say a pickup driven by Ryan Ust failed to yield at an intersection and hit the passenger side of the car that Brayden was in. He was taken by helicopter to Sanford Health in Fargo, but died from his injuries. The crash is still under investigation. Troopers tell Valley News Live the case will be forwarded to the state's attorney's office for consideration of possible charges against Ust. A GoFundMe page is set up to raise money for the Dahl family. We've got a link to it at valleynewslive.com. Just click on this story. Authorities are investigating after a North Dakota man was killed in a 3-vehicle crash in Oklahoma. 75-year-old Bert Hilber of Jamestown died at the scene of the crash. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol says Hilber was stopped behind a semi on his Harley-Davidson trike when a pickup failed to stop and hit Hilber's Harley, pushing it into the back of the semi. The crash shut down the highway for more than 7 hours, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol is handling that investigation. Cooler today, but it might be the break we need because things will sure heat up later in the week. For now, though, Robert, a nice night ahead of us.
Yeah, a nice night out there. Still some cloudiness to deal with over parts of the southern valley, from parts of southeastern North Dakota into west central Minnesota, but some clearing skies across parts of the northern and western valley. That's where we're seeing the warmer temperatures, ranging from 73 in Badette, Langdon, and Jamestown to 72 in Devils Lake. Still cloudy and cool in Fargo with a 68, and cooler still off towards the east, 59 degrees. Over in Wadena. Winds have been relatively light today, a bit of a breeze out of the north and northeast. Those winds have become very light to calm overnight tonight. There are the clouds, and again, clearing skies north and west, and eventually the entire region will see clearing skies as we head through the overnight hours, and that will allow some fog to potentially develop over parts of the area. No rain to speak of underneath those clouds. May still see a little bit of drizzle, maybe a light sprinkle in our far eastern counties over the next little while, but improving conditions and things really heating up as we get through the day tomorrow and right on into the weekend. And we'll detail all of that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Robert.
You got it.
Communities are still trying to get back up and running after violent storms ripped through the region earlier this week. Today, some people are still without power. Valley News Team's Ryan Laughlin tells us when the lights will be back on and how the community is getting by.
Heard a lot of wind. We all went down to the basement.
Harold McDonald's been living in this house in Hillsboro since 1968.
We did have a little seepage for our sump pump.
When the power went out late Tuesday, Harold's main worry was water backing up into his basement.
So we got a little around the edge.
But this isn't the first time for Harold. He says 2 days ago, the hum of his generator was music to his ears.
When it first came on, it was.
2 days later, he's still waiting to turn it off.
Everybody wanted yesterday.
Jim Anderson runs the public works here. The town's electricity is run by the city, and he says some major damage has slowed things down.
Actually snapped the poles. Poles were laying on the ground. The transformers, like you saw, were laying on the ground.
This is what the city's working on today. Broken poles and downed transformers. Public Works tells me there's about 4 of these that need to be replaced. And it's because of these that 50 to 60 people have been without power for around 2 days.
John, he's got his running over there on his deck. Then the next 2 houses, they got more of them over there.
Generators keeping many on this block up and running. Now a close eye being kept on workers as they get closer to restoring power.
Yeah, I think they are.
People maintaining a positive energy,
It's looking good.
but hoping that's the only type of energy they're generating by themselves. From Hillsborough, Ryan Laughlin, Valley News Live.
Public Works says all but a few houses have been restored to power. They say the entire town will have power back between 5:30 and 6 tonight. The lights are back on for many people in the Detroit Lakes area after more than a day without power in the area. Wild Rice Electric officials tell us they're making progress and all main lines are now back up. They're still working to get to the individual lines and are getting some backup from Clearwater and Lake Region co-ops. The main obstacle is still down power lines and uprooted trees. Remember to like Valley News Live on Facebook. You can follow the latest news, weather, and breaking news updates anytime on your feed. Just search Valley News Live, like our page, and you'll stay informed throughout the entire day. A man from Wilkin County is in jail after police say he stole several vehicles. Charges are still pending against Curtis Silvernail. Police say early this morning they were called to the 2500 block of 230th Street in Wilkin County on a report of a stolen vehicle. That vehicle was found a short time later, but a couple other vehicles disappeared in that same time frame. Police tell us a total of 4 vehicles were stolen. One of them was an ATV. Silvernail was eventually caught in Akron Township after driving the stolen ATV into a bean field. We're following breaking news out of Pennsylvania tonight. The man in custody connected to the investigation of 4 missing men has now confessed to his, quote, participation or commission in the murders of the 4 young men. This comes after authorities identified the remains of one of the missing men that they found in a mass grave that was discovered on a farm owned by the family of Cosmo DiNardo, who confessed just a short time ago. DiNardo's attorney told reporters the confession came after the district attorney promised not to seek the death penalty. DiNardo was in custody for stealing the car of one of the missing men. At least some of the missing men are believed to be friends with each other. Authorities have not said how the victims died or provided a motive, but DiNardo has told authorities where to find the bodies. Senate Republican leaders unveiled a retooled version of their health care bill today, but the changes seem unlikely to win over GOP holdouts. Democrats are calling this version just as bad as the first, while President Trump is pushing Congress to get a bill to his desk. Weijia Jiang reports from Capitol Hill.
Madam President.
Senators are getting a look at Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's latest plan to repeal and replace Obamacare.
The revised draft improves on the previous version in a number of ways, all while retaining the fundamental goals of providing stability and improving affordability.
This draft adds billions of dollars in opioid funding and puts more money into tax credits to help low-income Americans pay for coverage. But moderate Republican Susan Collins, who calls the cuts to Medicaid devastating, says that's not enough to win her vote. For conservatives, the bill has been tweaked to include Senator Ted Cruz's proposal to allow insurers to sell skimpier policies, something Democrats are honing in on.
One word which I think applies is junk. What we don't want is junk insurance.
This new version of the bill leaves in place some of the Obamacare taxes on the wealthy. And at least one conservative says that makes it even worse than the first version.
We were elected on a message of repeal, and this bill doesn't repeal Obamacare.
Protesters gathered outside Senate offices today. Sarah Loeffler came to Capitol Hill to tell lawmakers to vote no.
It's hard to expect people to be able to be as productive as they could be when they don't have basic health care.
McConnell will need to win the support of almost every Republican senator to get the bill passed next week. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Senators will see a score on this bill from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office early next week. The first version of the bill showed 22 million more Americans would lose insurance coverage by 2026. More than 400 people are facing charges after authorities cracked down on health care fraud schemes that produced more than $1 billion in false billings. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price made the announcement today in Washington. In the crackdown, more than 120 people, including doctors, were charged for their part in prescribing and distributing opioids and other narcotics. Several people from the Twin Cities are also facing charges in this investigation for bilking nearly $8 million from Minnesota's Medicaid program. Downtown Fargo is bringing in thousands of shoppers for a big annual event. The 42nd Downtown Fargo Street Fair kicked off today and runs through Saturday. This year, 50 new vendors are set up, along with 200 others showcasing jewelry, pottery, and much more. And the heat on Saturday is not expected to keep shoppers away.
We have prepared for that with the misting tent. We're going to have lots of cold beverages. We're going to have snow cones. Just remember to hydrate, wear the right clothing.
The street fair closes tonight at 9 and then reopens on both Friday and Saturday at 10 in the morning. You don't have to be a botanist to take in the pleasant sight of a well put together garden. To show off some of Fargo and West Fargo's more remarkable yard projects, a local organization put together this year's Garden Tour fundraiser. The money raised from the tour goes toward funding local women's and children's education programs. Gardeners hope the event will help build up the city's gardening community.
I think if you share your work with other people, they have an opportunity to do the same kinds of things, and then you can learn from them. We share information for each other. We share plants. We dig up plants and share them, give them to our friends and so forth.
The event continues until 7:30 and will cover 7 gardens in the area.